everybody, and welcome to LMU Roundtable Now. It's a show where we talk about issues on campus and the people who are the most correlated with these issues, the LMU student body. My name is Brandon McNeil. I'm a third-year sociology major, and I'm the host of the show. And tonight's our special Halloween episode, so let's introduce tonight's special spooky panel. Okay, on the right, he's a sophomore. He's a business finance major with a minor in guitar, and his name is John Thomas Landon. Welcome to the show, John.
Hi.
All right, or maybe we should call you Count John Thomas Landon.
Yeah.
All right, joining us to the left tonight is he's a bioengineering major, and he's a freshman, and his name is Chief Jordan Trent. Welcome to the show.
How?
All right. Well, I think this is going to be fun, and tonight's topic is about the environment. LMU is 150 acres, and that means that really we're our own ecosystem. So the question tonight is, do you think that LMU is a sustainable ecosystem? John?
Brendan, I think that you're probably right to call it an ecosystem, because the campus as a whole has many different functioning parts, and the administrative offices, for instance, cover one part of the organism's function. Maybe the sports teams are like the muscle, and the public safety is the defenses or the teeth.
All right. Jordan, what do you think?
Well, you're right in saying that LMU does function as a bit of an ecosystem in itself, but it also depends on interaction with other ecosystems. I would think we would do better if we had farms, so we could better self-sustain instead of relying on other ecosystems.
You know, there's of course, it's not just humans that are on campus. There's, you see a lot of mostly birds and mostly squirrels. Do you think that we need to be responsible for what they do?
I think that squirrels oftentimes serve a very crucial function. I know that in the cafeteria, for instance, when I get the quarter-pound cheeseburger with the fries, I'm usually have half the fries left over, and so I like to eat outside. The squirrels are there, and they eat the other half.
But you say that you give burgers and fries to the squirrels, and if we're feeding them a lot of fatty food, don't you think that it's going to make them larger, and then they'll be less able to run away from predators?
I think that is an argument for better physical care of our squirrels. Maybe an addition to the Burns Rec Center could include a couple of treadmills or hamster. I know they're hamster wheels, but I'm sure a certain squirrel could fit in there.
Even that, though, you could say in nature there's not aerobics equipment for squirrels, and they have to stay fit themselves. So isn't that playing God in a way?
Well, I think fitness centers for humans wouldn't be found in the wild, but we've built them for ourselves. So I think it's just would be the next step in evolution.
So maybe after we do the early work, maybe eventually the squirrels would learn to create fitness centers for themselves.
Mm-hmm. And maybe then they could contribute something to us.
That's true. They could make fitness centers for us in return for the ones that we first built for them. Well, it's always good to get out on our beautiful campus on a sunny day and find out what the other students have to say. So we go to John Thomas Landon with the Man on the Street segment.
Hi, I'm John Thomas Landon, and this week we'll be finding out about the environment at LMU and what you, the students, think about it. What's your favorite way to recycle?
Well, at our apartment, we usually put everything in a bag that can be recycled and then take it down to the recycling bins.
Okay, what do you recycle?
Plastic, paper, all the paper bags from grocery stores.
They only have one garbage bin, so you can't really recycle. That's difficult.
So you can't recycle?
Yeah, pretty much, because you only have one recycle bin.
Yeah.
One.
You need more than one.
If you want to recycle, you're gonna need more than one bin, right?
Yeah, like more than one. What is your favorite extinct animal?
My favorite extinct animal? Well, I'm heavily bonded with the dinosaurs, so I'd have to say that.
What is? How do you feel about the Bologna wetlands?
I think they're important to save.
Oh God. Maybe it's safe to go backwards. Then you got like your hands you can use. Behind me is what I guess used to be the Bologna wetlands. I don't think I don't know if maybe it's the Bologna like dry lands now, because they don't look very wet anymore. Some berries up here, but I don't think you should eat them. I think they're poisonous. And a dirty part right here. You get caught on the. Behind me, you can see the LMU sign. It's kind of at an extreme angle, so it's hard to see, but you can see the white letters. And this is probably what it was like, just the vegetation, when it was built. Here comes a cement mixer. I think a cement mixer outputs a lot of like diesel fuel. I think primarily what we come to learn about the Bologna wetlands and this certain function of area is that what is your favorite extinct animal?
I'm not sure.
Speaking of animals, do you think there are enough on campus?
No.
What would you add?
What would I add? Maybe more birds.
Any specific kind?
Flamingos.
Cool. From the wild nature that is LMU, this has been JT Landon. Back to you in the studio.
All right, so you talk to people about recycling, and I think there is a lot of incentive for people to recycle today because you can get money in return.
It takes, I think, very little effort to collect enough cans or bottles or other recyclables, like scrap aluminum.
But don't you think it's just somewhat hypocritical to, like, say you collect like a bunch of newspapers to recycle, and so you give the recycling center this paper to be reused, but then they give you paper back in the form of money. So isn't that just further wasting paper and trees?
I had never thought of it that way, but also recently I read about the new U.S. dollars, and I think they're a good like 32% plastics.
I think the other point that needs to be raised is that, especially if you only bring in, a slight amount of recycled goods, they're going to give you, metal money, and that can't be recycled.
My roommate actually has like coated the top of our table with coins. It's decorative.
That's a good example of how we can recycle in creative ways in our everyday life.
Maybe clothing made to fit out of dollar bills, for instance, where you would hem maybe $10 bills, or like a buckle, I don't know.
With the problem with giving money for recycling, that just encourages more greed, and like I think trees should be the things that are green, not people's green eyes of jealousy.
Well, one of the big problems in the world, Al Gore made a movie about the environment, and he talked about how there's the hole in the ozone layer, and some of that hole is contributed to by the SUVs on campus. And there's a lot of students who drive SUVs, which sometimes seems unnecessary because it's often just one student.
Well, actually, I think the problem with that is just a case of recycling gone to the extreme. I imagine that the problem is that the students aren't organized enough in communicating who should drive, and probably because they're afraid of wasting paper, so they don't make a schedule.
Well, I think students do have a way of organizing who should drive, and that's called the shotgun system. And that doesn't use any paper, it's totally verbal.
I think one of the issues is that there is no one to call shotgun. So maybe if the shotgun system was updated so that another word was used, maybe say, well, since they say shotgun to drive, maybe you say handgun or something, because it's not as short, it's not as long, there's not as many people.
I think that's a really a good idea, because it sort of makes conservation like a fun game that everyone would want to be a part of.
I mean, fun games are all well and good for us because we're still young, but there's adults on this campus too, and maybe they don't want to do that sort of thing. Maybe they think it's immature or silly. And how did they go about conserving energy when they drive?
Probably the most obvious thing that adults could do on campus is, I see a lot of times public safety driving around campus, and you see them. They don't necessarily have to adhere to the road. They can go on sidewalks, but I noticed that they cannot drive downstairs, for instance. As a solution, maybe public safety could ride bicycles. I've seen a lot of videos where people can go up and down stairs, and people can get really good. They do at the X Games. They have people who do trick bicycle things.
But then I have to raise a point, which is that if we have public safety officers who are doing kind of stunts in the air, then that's pretty distracting, and I think anybody who's nearby is going to be looking up at that, and that allows crimes to be committed.
Unless they kept their most special tricks to themselves, and then only did maybe things that we all know anyone could do.
All right, well, now it's time for LMU Roundtable Mailroom, and this is where we respond to your emails about shows that we've done in previous weeks. This comment comes from Luz. She's a first-year freshman. I watched the program where you all interviewed students about their opinion on diversity. I found it somewhat hypocritical since you did not interview people of different races and ethnic backgrounds. You spoke of African Americans, Latinos, Asians, among others, as part of the student body, yet I never heard their opinion on the issues you were questioning. Next time you wonder about diversity, ask a diverse audience. I think she's referring to the Man on the Street segment, which is what JT does. So I'm going to turn things over to you. How do you respond?
First off, thank you for sending the email. I think it brings up a very interesting point. What you saw, I think, is, if you look at the numbers, an accurate sampling of the LMU populace based on ethnicity. Personally, I think that peoples fluctuate throughout campus, and I think the time that we did the interviews, it was during the time in which the primarily white ethnic area had moved, and so the amount of diversity that I was able to work with was heavily dependent on those facts.
All right, well, thanks for the email, Luz, and if anybody else has any further questions or comments, please feel free to email us at lmuroundtablenow@gmail.com, and maybe we'll respond to your email on the show. So until next time, remember, if you want to know what's going on the campus, then pull up a seat at the table. Thanks.